Vice President MCCI, Keynote presenter Khalil Rahman, Associate Professor, BRAC University, Shahrukh Islam, Member Basis, Managing Director of Bonstein Technologies Limited, Mohammad Ghulam Rabiul Alam, PhD, Associate Professor and AI-based Solution Expert, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, BRAC University. Mr. Rafiqul Islam Rauli, Director ActionAid, Bangladesh, and Managing Director of CSL Software Resources Limited. My fellow friends from DCCI and the business community, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good afternoon to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to welcome you all today to the second parallel session on artificial intelligence-based solutions for hazard anticipation as part of a day-long event which has been organized by DCCI called Private Sector Participation and Leadership in Disaster Risk Management. Along with DCCI, Dhaka Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the other participants include World Vision, ActionAid Bangladesh, and the European Union and United Purpose. Distinguished guests, the economy of Bangladesh has been consistently growing in the recent past years. Based on this relentless growth, the economy is heading to its milestone to develop from a developing country to a developed country. And we anticipate that this will be done by the year 2041. But this pace of growth may be stifled due to unavoidable circumstances. And unavoidable circumstances, when I say unavoidable circumstances, I mean natural hazards and related risks. We know that Bangladesh is very frequently affected by different natural disasters. For example, Bangladesh experienced more than 200 natural disasters over the last 3 decades. And the ADB assumes, based on their statistics, that more may follow, and the cost has already crossed the $10 billion mark. Therefore, it is very important to invest in technology which can identify and mitigate such risks for the business community, the industries, investor, and the country as a whole. Respected guests, during a disaster, emergency response requires real-time disaster insights. Lack of actionable information in real-time process poses serious challenges on stakeholders not only in Bangladesh but globally. That is why it is very important to have an effective coordination between the human and machine intelligence in order to improve disaster response efforts significantly. For example, earthquake prediction is still a major challenge. Artificial intelligence uses seismic data to analyze magnitude and patterns of earthquake, open doors for researchers to offer practical solutions to this problem. I understand that big companies like Google and Harvard are already developing AI systems which can predict the aftershocks of an earthquake. I also understand that Google is building an AI platform to predict floods in India and warn users via Google Maps and Google Search. Researchers at the University of Dundee are monitoring urban flooding by collecting crowd-sourced data through Twitter and other mobile apps. NASA is currently tracking hurricanes using satellite image. The list goes on and will extend further more in the days to come. Seeing the above, we can learn that, and we must remember that innovation and technology can enhance the potential of utilizing AI to manage disasters and to improve resilience. Our government of Bangladesh, the ICT Ministry, and the Industry Ministry, and the private sector are all working alongside together to innovate, create similar AI-based solutions in our disaster-prone country, to lower its impact and to pave the way for further economic growth in the years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that our session chair, keynote speaker and other distinguished guests will be able to elaborate more on these issues further. Without causing any more delay, I'm inviting them to deliver their valued remarks to enlighten us on the role of AI in disaster risk management. Our first speaker is Mr. Khalilur Rahman, who's going to present a keynote paper on artificial intelligence solutions for hazard anticipation and enlighten us on the usage of AI in disaster risk management across industries. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I am MD Khalilur Rahman. I'm Associate Professor of CSC Department of BRAC University. My apology, I actually sick for last few days. Yeah, I tested COVID and it was negative. So actually today I'm going to present a keynote speech, but it's not actually a technical session. I should say it's a model, okay? Because when this initially started, at that time, always we say, are we ready with AI? Are we ready for robotics or these kind of things? But you know, I started on robotics from 2011 when I come back to Bangladesh after finishing my PhD. Our team, they went to NASA for lunabotic mining competition. And you know, at least 30 teams from top 100 universities attended over there. And our team got 12th place, okay? On 2017, another team, they went for Mars Society's competition, which is, we say, University Robot Challenge, where we again went with a robot, and that robot got 6th place. And on last year, it got 3rd place. Believe me, it's the hardest competition in the world, okay? And again, you have seen, maybe some of you have seen the Duburi project outside of this hall. You know, that is underwater autonomous vehicle. And that 2 times that went to Singapore Underwater Vehicle Championship. And it's really an AI project, okay? So over there, it also got 7th position, okay? So which proves that we have that potential, our students, our people have that potential. So we just need to push them, we just need to show them it's possible, okay? So when we first contacted with, or I can say, United Purpose contacted with me, then we had a discussion like, is there any solution or AI-based solution for disaster management or something like that? And at that discussion, we really found that the fire detection, smoke detection, these are very possible. And one side is possibility, and another side is necessity, okay? Because you know, every year, every week, every month, every day, we can see, especially after work, starting this work, when we turn on the TV, after every few days, we are watching the news of fire, okay? Maybe we were concentrated on this project, that's why we are getting that news so frequently. But this is the reality, okay, every day. So maybe we have some information here, like how many fires is occurring, how many, yeah, this is the information, how many fires is occurring, how many places, okay? It's showing that. That means this is the groundwork, why we should start with that place, okay? So then we found we need AI, okay? AI is there to solve this problem, okay? Because now artificial intelligence, that means convolutional neural network, ELO V5, this kind of algorithm came with a huge power which can detect and classify very nicely if we have the proper data, okay? So what we have done, we did some, analysis, like whether is it possible in Bangladesh or not. So, and we found, yes, it's possible. So what we did, this is our whole system. Number one is, you can see on the left, there is a camera, okay? So we are receiving the pictures from the CCTV, okay? Like this is a place of Kallanpur Slam, okay? Where we have used 4 cameras. It's always giving us the live feed. So we are getting that pictures. We collected 16,000 data, 16,000 picture to train our AI model, okay? So when there is any fire or any smoke, it's detecting, okay, and classifying. That is one part. Another part, you can see on right side, there is an IoT device, the red one, okay? So from that one, we have two sensors. One is smoke, another one is temperature sensor. So we have calculated a thresholding value so that a certain amount of smoke and certain amount of temperature that will trigger the IoT device. And also there is a manual button, like if sensor doesn't work, if someone manually press over there, it will notify to the server. You can see in the middle there is a server. So server will get notified, one by the cameras, second by the IoT device, and there is another very simple, we say call point. Okay, call point means there is just a button, you know, there is a fire extinguishing button, okay? So call point buttons, okay? So they just push here, the server will get notified, okay? When we started, I'm coming to AI after a bit. I'm just explaining you the system, whole system I'm explaining you. So there are three ways we are getting the notification. Another one is crowd data, like if some people call directly to the server or the personally to the server. So we are getting four ways. One is camera feed, another one is IoT device, another one is call point, okay? Now, in our server, we have an AI-based solution, like, we will discuss it later, which algorithm we are going to use. So we have an AI-based solution that is detecting live, okay? After detecting, it's alarming to the people, to the guy who is the attendant of the system, okay? Like, someone have to stay on the system, okay? He will get notified, and then he will trigger a button. Trigger a button means we will have a software button. He will trigger it, and then it will notify to one is response team, another one is the community. Okay, the community means that means the Kallanpur Bostis community. Okay, so that is the whole system. So we are getting four ways of data. We are processing on the computer, and we are notifying in three ways. One is to the community, one is to the response team, and also you can see on the right side there is a stop horn, or we can say alarm system. Like in the Kallanpur slum, there is an alarm system where it will trigger and it will make an alarm, and people will get notified that we have a fire. Now very important point comes. Why a human is in middle? Okay, because when we went to Kallanpur, they said they have some systems provided by, as I know, by Google, I think. So their system was like our IoT system that will just make the alarm when there is a fire or there is a smoke. Okay, but what happening when they are giving some coil, you know, the mosquito coil. They are putting their sensor on the coil and it's alarming. So they are saying, you know, the tiger case. Okay, so tiger come, and it's not coming. So this thing is happening over there. So they say, no, if we have a false alarm, it will make us a serious problem. So our challenge was also over there. There are a number of algorithms that can detect fire. But the problem is, how can it detect the false detection, number one, and number two, how can we, reduce the false notification to the community or to the people, to the, response team. So that's why this middleman came, okay, that is manually, he's triggering manually. So that is our whole system. So keep in your mind, this is our system. Now I will go how our AI works. So I think this is already discussed over there. We will have an IP camera, which is working 24 hours. Here is methodology, research methodology, you know, traditional research methodology. First, we had a feasibility study, then data collection, then cleaning, annotation, then training the system. After that, we're detecting the system or testing the system. So we used 8 algorithms for detecting the fire, okay, to verify which one is the best. Number one problem was the pictures, okay, the data. Okay, in Bangladesh, I'm extremely sorry, and I'm requesting all of you, like, we are not generating data and we are not saving the data. That is the main problem, okay, and no one is giving the data even. When, I know there are academician people here, and inside, of course, you know, when we go for any solution based on AI, we are not getting any data. Like, we are trying to find the COVID-19, we need X-ray. But you are not, if you will request to any, diagnostic center, they are not going to give you the pictures, okay? If you want their data, like, can you give us some blood data, they are not going to give you. If I request, even if you request to the BRAC University, I should say, I also requested to BRAC University, can you give us data for the students so that we can find who are getting successful and who are not. But even my university is afraid to give me that data. Okay, so you will see everyone is getting data from Kaggle or some other American website or UK or over there. We are not generating data, we are not storing that data. What we should do, okay? So first what we do, we collected data from the different media's website, okay? You know, media people, thank you very much, because you are keeping that data, okay, on the website, and of course in the, in your paper, in your physical paper. So we collected data from over, like, I have 10 team members. Can you please stand up, my students? So, yeah, can you please come here? I would like to show them. Because this is the model. I am not, as I told you, I am not just presenting a paper, I am presenting a model. Because they are NGO, I am university professor, they are my students, and there are industry who are funding. So it's a totally a model, okay? Like, they collected data. These 10 people, every day they are collecting hundreds of pictures, not only collecting, after collecting that data, they have to annotate, okay? They had to say, this point to this point is fire, okay? This point to this point looks fire, but this is not fire, okay? So day after day, night after night, they had done this kind of job, okay? So after gathering all those data, now they experimented on 10 types of models. And for information, training to every model is not the same. Like, for training to YOLO V5 and training to mobile net is not same, okay? So these are different, okay? So you have to annotate in different way for these models. So they tested with 8 models to find which one is giving us the best result, okay? So after that we choose, okay, YOLO V5 is giving us the best result. That is one choice. Now, then another issue came. Another issue means it's giving us a number of false alarms, false notifications. Notification means like headlight, car's headlight looks like fire. When someone is wearing the red t-shirt or yellow t-shirt, it looks like fire. Even at the evening, you will see the picture, when the cloud is going, it looks like smoke, okay? When there is in winter, okay? You know, fog is detecting the, smoke. So what they had done, they had made a different class. Actually, what we had done, we collected all those false pictures, okay? Like false detected pictures. After collecting all those false detected pictures, we again train them. If you find this kind of picture, these are not fire or these are not smoke. Okay, so we made another new class where we said detected but not fire, not smoke. So this approach significantly reduced the false detection. Okay, I should say at least 70% reduction. Okay, we found 70% reduction by using just this technique. And what we are doing now, still we are collecting, still there are some false alarm, okay? I should say every 6 days we are getting a false alarm. Am I right, Zoe? Every 5-6 days we are getting a false alarm. So still we are keeping those data and we will train again. Like if you get this kind of data, these are not fire or smoke. So that is second point. Then we came to another point, like we did some other research, like there is a pattern of fire. What kind of pattern? Fire start with very small fire, then it enhance, like it increase. Okay. So how many times, brother? I'm already done. Oh, 4 minutes. Okay. So you can sit. Thank you. So there is a pattern of fire. Fire started small, then it become bigger, and it move. You know. So now we came, not only detection, but also we need to analyze this nature. So they use another frame difference algorithm. These are also academicians, they know this algorithm. So frame difference algorithm means we can see if something is detected, what is the difference between these two frames. So what they had done, they had find the nature like small, bigger, bigger, and not in the same, center is not the same. Okay, once again, fire becoming bigger and it move. So we included this feature also. Okay, so this is someone calling me? Okay, no. So we integrated three things. One is yellow V5 algorithm, AI algorithm, which is very known, very popular AI algorithm. Number two, we used frame difference so that we can analyze the nature of fire, okay? And thirdly, we did another interesting thing. An issue? Okay, you can stay here. Okay, so third issue was, I'm saying, as I told you, I was sick, so I'm not feeling so good. So third issue was posture. Okay, like there are some safe fire, like someone is cooking, and cooking is a fire, okay, but this is safe. And at the winter, if some people go for the fire, this is safe fire. So what is going to happen? Now we find another nature, like when there is a fire, people move too quickly, okay, like they put the water, or they runs, or their movement is not normal. Like you can see here, our movement is normal. They are just say doing like this, or you are just moving, watching some clock, or looking back, right? You are doing, this is a very normal attitude. But you know, if their sound is happen, everyone will look to over there. Okay, so we can see the change. Okay, so we have 17 or 14 point, 17 point. So posture algorithm that can detect 17 points by the pictures. Okay, it can detect the 17 points. So detecting these 17, analyzing these 17 points, we are detecting the abnormality of movement. Okay, so if I find normal movement and fire, that means this is a safe fire. Okay, but if we see fire and the movement is abnormal, then we are detecting this is a really fire. Okay, but this third one we didn't implement in our project, as I told you, in Kuala Lumpur, because Kuala Lumpur's picture, I'm not sure I have that picture or not here. Yes, sir. I'm going to finish. So you see, this is the place of Kuala Lumpur where our 4 cameras are installed. Okay, and here is the pictures of Kuala Lumpur Slam. You can see on left. So it's top view. So there is no human movement. Okay, it's not tracking any human. So third part we didn't implement here. Okay, so we just used first two. One is yellow V5, and second one is the frame difference algorithm. Okay, so by doing this, our system was implemented. And of course, I'm going to move forward since time is not that much long. This is the description of our system, demonstration of our. Okay, if you have interest, you can just go out. We have this system demonstration over there. Please go, and my kids are there. They will demonstrate you.
I'm very sorry to interrupt.
I'm just so let me finish this by giving just a video. Yeah, Rajan, can you please play the video? So please enjoy the video, and I'd like to thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On his own. While we wait for the video, I would like to take a moment to thank Mr. Khalil Rahman for enlightening us with the excellent projects that you're doing. And thank you. What we understand that data is very important, data collection, and a lot of research needs to go into algorithms as well. And obviously, we invite all the audience to go outside, and Mr. Rahman's team is available there to give any demonstration that is required. Is it হচ্ছে? এই ভিডিওটা কি বাইরে available আছে? আচ্ছা। Due to time constraint, আমার মনে হচ্ছে যে এই ভিডিওটা আমরা যদি একটু বাইরে, if anyone's of you interested, আমরা বাইরে যে after this seminar we can have a look. Connect হয়েছে? Okay, let us have a look. Real.
Yeah, I think we are done. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'd now like to request Mir Shahrukh Islam, member of BASIS. Shahrukh bhai, you're now invited to take us through some AI discussion and how it can forecast extreme events and the development of hazard maps for detection of such events.
Thank you, Bhaim. Very interesting keynote presentation from sir, and I think the use cases and the impacts that we have seen are tremendous, right? But if you look into the overall point that sir made in his keynote conversation is the importance of data, right? So let's say if I ask anyone of you here that we need to go to Karan Bazaar or let's say Farmgate from Sonarga Hotel, right? So which route you will choose? You'll open up the Google map, you will see the traffic, you will get the data of traffic, and then you will think which route to take, and then you will take that route. But if you don't have that data of traffic, how will you take the decision? So in order to predict or in order to give any intelligence from an artificial intelligence model or AI model as we say it, we need to provide data. And that is something that is very important in context of Bangladesh, right? If you look into Singapore, if you look into different developed countries, they have their government data portal, like, right, where you can find informations of water level, informations of air quality, informations of previous hazards, in different parameters like locations, industries, across different divisions, and etc. But in Bangladesh, the scarcity of this data is very, very high. Like we don't find any quality data when we go for any sort of research or any sort of private commercialization and stuff. For me as a person, I run an IoT company which focuses on IoT hardware, right? And when we try to develop some kind of let's say AI model which will be implemented inside the hardware modules that we are working on, it gets very difficult for us because we don't find that data. So what we need to do is we need to go and produce this data and then create an AI model for us, right? And what happens is there are thousands of companies like ours who are working in the same model, right? And we don't share data with one another. And as a result, our efficiency or the accuracy of that AI model doesn't increase. So from a policymaker's point of view or from the industry point of view, I think that it's a high time that we start talking about making a data hub or a data marketplace or an API marketplace where the academicians, the researcher, the hobbits can come in, they can subscribe to data and they can create their own applications. Let's say you have seen a real use case based on camera, right? Which sees smokes from different slums, different places, and then detects what's the level of fire or what's the probability of being a hazard there, right? But imagine for us, we are not IP camera manufacturers, right? We don't manufacture those cameras. But when government or when any organization purchases their camera, if the policymakers make it a policy that yes, you can buy camera from anyone, but the only condition is these parameters needs to be sent to a centralized system. Like what if you detect any smoke, if you detect any sort of hazardous parameters, you need to report it back to the API broker. And then creators like university students or industry professionals, they can look into that and they can create applications which can generate alerts, which can generate commercial, I would say, products out of these data sets, right? I think that's something that we need to focus on very much at this point of time. And secondly, I want to focus on another thing is, before joining this panel session, I was actually doing some basic research. So I found out one interesting thing is, we all talk about hazard risk reduction, right? Or disaster risk reduction. But what happens when there is a disaster? We don't talk about that a lot, right? Because in some cases we see that there is no mobile internet, right? There are people who didn't subscribe to internet packages, who don't have the facility to do a simple phone call to someone to inform that they're okay. So there has been an interesting model which has been developed by UNESCO, and in Japan it has been deployed by Line, one of the leading mobile operators. They have developed a simple chatbot, AI-based chatbot, which provides that person who is in that disaster information with where is the nearest shelter, where they can find food, where they can find the right kind of help that they need. Let's say they need medicine, they need support for transportation. This type of information, sometimes if you think about suburbs or the rural areas of Bangladesh, it's very difficult for a person who resides in that rural area to get that accurate information on time. Even sitting in 2022, we don't get information of flash floods properly. So we can easily imagine what type of facility they will have once they go into disaster. So I think that that's something that we definitely need to look into.
Thank you, Shahrukh bhai. Very insightful and very helpful, especially the last example. I think the government can take a page or two from your discussion about this Japanese model.
Thank you.
Because I think we live in a population where most of us do not have access to mobile data or internet. And if they encounter any such incidents, they should have a way to find out where the nearest safety zone is, or even to inform other people. Great, thank you. At this stage, may I invite Mr. Gholam Rabiul Alam, PhD Associate Professor from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, BRAC University, to express his views on AI solutions and related disasters.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Okay. Thank you, distinguished guests and also audience. So here, the presented proof of concept for fire detection is excellent presentation and also excellent work. In this work, they have mentioned several AI algorithms and also machine learning algorithms, specifically deep learning algorithms, and for the fire detection. Just I want have some more suggestions to the team, so they can maybe combine those ideas. So if we, in your solution, you propose vision-based, or maybe you need the camera for detecting the fire, the first approach. So to detect the fires, maybe just for only one slum, you need many cameras for that. So how can we cover the whole Bangladesh for that? Okay, so it's a question. So the solution can be like, that means you also introduced like the smoke detection also. So sensor-based smoke detection. So solution can be the multimodal approach. That means not only the camera-based or vision-based approach, you can also incorporate there like the sensor-based and also some crowd-based solutions. When fire is there, people are screaming or maybe talking about that. So from that also you can detect that is whether this one is fire or maybe another thing like maybe the barbecue party. Okay, so that's important here, and also the sustainability is important. In our case, most of the local solutions we develop, those are not sustained. So sustainable, if we want to build the sustainable solutions, so for that we need to analyze the feasibility of our solutions, and also we need to maybe find out that is the approaches which are sustainable. Like if we talk about like the sensor-based approaches you want to incorporate there, then many sensors you have to deploy, and those sensors are just the data is coming to your system like continuously. So can we develop such kind of solutions that maybe when the fire is just generated, on that time it will just collect the data, and maybe other times it will just remain ideal, so that maybe when the fire is detected, on that time it will collect the data. That means the energy, it will be energy efficient for that case. Otherwise, if we deploy lots of sensors, the data will be in your systems, and those kind of data, handling those kind of data, so that's unused data, those are. So those systems we need to incorporate. And another thing is that is the AI, now artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence nowadays is not, we cannot say that just only artificial intelligence is enough. So people are talking about like general intelligence. So that means some of the general intelligence techniques you can incorporate in your system. So general intelligence like that is, okay, in artificial intelligence it can detect something, but how about the people? The people have the general intelligence, not only detection, they will take some measure for that. Okay, can your system do those steps or incorporate those steps in your system or not? So those are very important. So not only the artificial intelligence, you can concentrate on also on the general intelligence. And the data, we said that always those are very precious. And the collecting data is also, it also has a lot of hassles. So like the suggestion, that means we can have the data hub in our country. Yeah, this is very necessary and essential. But in your system, the data you have collected, and the system is built on that using YOLO v5 algorithms. But in test cases, you can see your system also observes some data. So those data you have to incorporate in your system, and again retain your system, so that the efficiency of your model will be enhanced. Okay, so these are the approach I think we can incorporate in your systems. And not only that is the fire detection, and I can say that anticipation is more important than the detection. So we need the anticipation model. That means whether fire is occurring or not, or maybe at least the fire is occurred at the beginning of the fire occurred moment, we can detect that one. So that is important. And also anticipation of other hazards, like maybe the earthquake, the flood. So those are also necessary. Here in earthquake detection, it is already mentioned that lots of solutions are there developed by that is University of Harvard. And flood detection, the Google solutions are there. But the problem is, what about the local solutions? So can that is Google solutions is appropriate for our country? Can it detect the flash floods of some of the places of our country? So those kind of things we need to think about. Okay. So I think those are the things we need to incorporate in our models. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ghulam bhai. Thank you for your wonderful comments. One comment which occurred to me is the anticipation model, which is very, very important, especially in a disaster-prone country like Bangladesh. If we can anticipate what is about to happen, or at least develop some technology to anticipate the disasters that are coming our way, I think even if we take one step, that will help us a lot and will save a lot of money in terms of disasters. May I now invite Rafiqul Islam Rauli, who is a director in ActionAid, to provide his essential feedback and comments on how artificial intelligence solutions might safeguard us from the disasters that may come our way, and what challenges exist in implementing this technology.
Thank you very much. We know it very well that Bangladesh is known to be disaster-prone country. It's, it's known everywhere. Bangladesh is known to be a disaster-prone country. We have disasters almost every year. We have disasters, natural disasters, we have man-made disasters. We can consider the traffic is a disaster nowadays. Though there are some help from the Google that saves our times to some extent, that we can get some relief using those artificial intelligence to our life. What normally happens once a disaster attacks us? It causes mortality, it causes injury, it causes displacement, it causes damage of the property, cultural heritage at times is gone, infrastructure is shaken, and also our resources are disturbed and attacked so that we cannot use our natural resources. These are the things that happens. AI, what does AI do? We have seen this project, which our Professor Khalil Rahman explained. I'll just mention in the three simple lines. One is data collections and handling, mostly data collection and handling. Reasons I'm saying this, data collection is the major part. Whenever we talk about the AI, it's all about data, data, and data. And these data collections and handling means that handling means the purity of the data. Because to avoid the false analysis, you have to have very clear and sanitized and very authentic data. Next comes the modeling, which is a past and future. We are taking a learning, which is machine learning, from the past data and predicting our future. And these features with basically is our forecasting, projection, and very important part we always tend to neglect, even whatever we have, is the communication. Communication to the people who is going to take courses on the recovery or attend these cases. Sorry. For those people who are going to respond to the cases, these are the very important communication. And we, all these three things together coming to our AI solutions. So our life in Bangladesh, I call it personally, the Bangladesh is powered by people. Because we are people who are there, who are helping to generate data, and who will be also a part of generating data. And these data are required for AI. And this data, we can, when do we need AI? When our human capacity exceeds those computation, calculation, and prediction, there we need AI. So our machine is helping us to produce and analyze data to predict future. I'll just give a small story. I was attending one of the social meeting in Germany. I was called by at that point of time, Germany had a flood. And it was some kind of flood which they have never experienced earlier. One of the person told me that we have to take a learning from Bangladesh how to survive on flood. So we are a nation with a resilience. We are a nation that we can fight. And our people, if the kind of natural disaster we feel, we are the right person to come out with the solutions. We are the right person to come out, think about the solutions of how we save all these causes which makes the disaster. So I would think that we need to take steps on few steps, like helping to generate data. Like I would agree with Shahrukh that we need to have a data hub where we can generate data. I'll also give another example. I was also thinking about one day thinking about our crime protection, that where the artificial intelligence can detect the faces of the the registered criminal and track their movement within the city, and you can track also whether they're coming together, planning something, you can detect. Then I was talking to one of these police officers. Police has a lot of cameras, so is it possible to put an AI on those crime busting and crime detection? But when we dig down to the system, then I found they really did not have that many cameras. They depend on the cameras of the people who have their CC camera on the different buildings. So all that we need, we have a data hub that we can share all these CC camera establishment to data hub, contribute this data to make a real good data hub where those data can be analyzed, data can be checked for different purpose. So all this together, it can be a good effort. Our effort has to be put together with a good leadership, good planning, and a good institutional approach. It cannot be a simple, isolated approach that we can come to a good solution. It has to be an institutional good leadership approach. My take would be in this discussion that let's start thinking of coming up with a plan that we all put our head together, put our data together to come to a national consensus that we build a solid data hub where we can share data for our good and wellness.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. That's a very effective suggestion, and I think one that goes to the root of today's discussion. I think we're all in agreement that data is key, starting from Khalilur Rahman's keynote presentation, moving on to Shahrukh Bhai's observation, as well as our professor here, as well as you. At this stage, this is a very interesting discussion. Now I'd like to invite questions from the floor. If any of you have any questions for our panel speakers, please do raise your hand and we'll try to get a mic across to you. Please do introduce yourself. Rather than comments, if it can be very specific and if it can be in the form of a question, then the panelists here will try and answer it. So anyone from the floor? Anyone from the student table? Any questions from your table to the panelists?
Hello?
That's a very important suggestion. Maybe one of you, you've already stood up. Maybe you can share with us your experience and challenges in exactly 2 minutes.
As Khalil sir already mentioned that our main problem was collecting the data sets from of our local perspective, because there are so many data sets we can find from Google or different kinds of data set sources, but they are like US data set or Australian fire data set or UK data set and so on. But we have to collect data in our country's perspective, because in the modern countries there are no slum, areas like ours, or there are no housings like ours. So we have to collect data sets from the medias, and we have to take pictures by going different kinds of slums and different kinds of roads. And I think that was the biggest challenge for developing in our project. So I think if the software companies, or if the private sectors, or if the government organizations take this opportunity to collect a data hub, as already you have mentioned, so that we students as well as the academic researchers will be able to research in the real life solutions which truly can develop.
Absolutely. I think that is very important. With these sort of technical areas, it is equally important to have someone from the technology side, from the line of literature, education, as well as from the private sector to start up these projects and to fund these projects. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your comments are very helpful. Anyone else from this room who wants to ask a question? We have someone at the back.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor to ask a question. So I would like to ask...
Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I am Fazullah Faiz, and I am a student. I am doing my MA in BRAC University. The question is, I would like to know from Khalil Rahman sir about the cost of the project or of the model, because as already mentioned that it's not cost effective. They need lots of cameras and sensors as well. So I'd like to know about the cost of the model.
You can understand. I think you can calculate the cost. Like CCTV camera is very cheap. You know, all of you know. We used maybe each camera was 2,800 taka maybe. So cameras are not expensive issue. Okay, cameras is not a big deal. The problem is, number one problem is the collecting of data, manpower. Like I had to pay 4 researchers as a research grant. I had to pay students as a scholarship money, because you know, nothing is, should not be professional.
Absolutely.
Everything should be professional.
Absolutely.
So we had to spend money over there, one point. Another point is to process those data, like for training those data. Oh, this is another point I would like to, I wanted to mention, but I have forgotten. Like we need, you know, Google Colab, you know. So Google Colab, we can run our AI on Google Colab. But in Bangladesh, we don't have that kind of infrastructure. Google Colab, they can only give you a certain amount of time and certain amount of processor, okay? So if we can have that kind of infrastructure where our student can run their AI or train their model, it could be a tremendously, how can I say, tremendously beneficial for our special academician, okay? So I would humbly request either, whether it can be government or it can be our industry, if they can make an infrastructure with very high-end, high-performance PC, having very high-performance GPU, so that our student could run their AI on their GPU. Once they had trained, then nothing, then free, okay? For detecting, we don't need high-performance PC. But for training, we need high-performance PC. So if they can provide us this kind of infrastructure, beside that data, that can be another very adventurous, okay? So thank you very much for mentioning it. So I think cost is, one is manpower, another one is camera, of course, that is very low, and third point is the PC, okay, your computing power, okay? So in our project, we also bought a computer, especially for training these models, okay?
I think with global warming and climate change, more and more people and businesses will be more aware of natural disasters and how to prevent them. Also, AI companies, I've seen a lot of startup companies developing in this field, where a lot of private investments are coming in. I'm not too particularly sure, I don't know anyone off by heart, but maybe our session chair may know, because I see him nodding his head, where we see that the government has also created a fund called Startup Bangladesh, where they're investing in a lot of startup companies. I personally invested in one IDLC fund they also started a fund to invest in all these startup companies. So I think as the mentor and professor for all these young, intelligent people, students, I think the next step is to encourage them to become entrepreneurs, to make companies where for private investors, like many of us, who can invest in these companies. And that way you can meet the cost as well, a mixture of beauty and the brain, basically. Right? There's another question, a young lady there.
I'm studying Department of Development Studies in University of Dhaka, and I'm also working for a research organization. So since we are talking about data sets, my question is, as Shahrukh sir was talking about, that we do have a lot of companies, but they are not sharing their data sets. So I just would like to know, is the private sector emergency operations center do have any sort of plan to bring all the private sectors together, or maybe the companies, to at least share their data sets, or what I mean? Okay.
Yes, that's a very useful suggestion. I will definitely speak to my colleagues at the board of Dhaka Chamber of Commerce to see if they have the plan. I can see one of our colleagues is already nodding his head, so it's probably is already on the agenda. But if it's not on the agenda, I'll make sure it gets included in the agenda. Thank you. Any other questions? Another gentleman.
Firstly, thank you for giving me the floor. My name is Shafayat Siddhi. I'm also from BRAC University, currently studying, doing my third year, and running a non-profit named The Dream. It is working for education. I'm currently working in Pabna area. So my question to Khalilur Rahman sir is, let me first clarify some background. In the early 2000s, Yahoo developed a prediction algorithm, which successfully predicted some flus in particular areas. But after 5 years later, actually it failed. It failed to predict flus in particular areas. So they basically took the data from Google Yahoo searches, and later they found that they were using the data of basketball tickets. So they used where basketball tickets buying consumption is growing, there actually the flu was happening. Still in America, mainly 20,000 people actually dies every year. So my question is that if an algorithm or a project fails after several years, so what are the possibilities private sector is going to invest on that? You have to develop a project that have a cost, and private sectors have to invest in there that have a cost, and it takes a lot of risk, I guess, for the sectors. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the good question. So you can understand, data is the fact. Okay, so if you have proper data, your identification will be proper. That is the point. Okay, so we need proper data. So when we're talking about data hub, then 2 points we need to be ensured. Like one is what would be the security of the data? Like we don't want to give my salary information to the other people. Okay, so how about those data? So one is that point, and another one is personal information, how to ensure that things. So if we can ensure that thing, then we have to maintain that thing. So you can understand, so proper data, the same thing is happening in every academic institute. They are producing a number of papers by using, as I told you, Kaggle's data. Okay, they are not getting, because they don't have Bangladeshi data. They are trying to make the solution. That is one point. Another point is you have to maintain. Nothing is maintenance free. Okay, so if you just made a machine before 7 years and you are expecting the output like we are not the same like 7 years. A lot of things changed in 7 years. So you have to change, like you have to retrain your system, your model. Okay, that is the way how you can save. By the way, I would like to mention that we would like to open our 16,000 annotated images free. Okay, if anyone want to do further research, those are free for everyone.
Oh,
Thank
great,
you.
thank you, thank you. I think that will close the moderation session. We're already running over time. At this stage, I'd like to invite Mr. Habibullah Karim, Vice President of Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you, sir, for waiting for so long. And thank you for waiting patiently. Now we look forward to hearing your valuable comments to end of this today's show. From here or from? From here, I think it's better. Habibullah Karim, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, first of all, thank you, Barrister Sami Sattar, for your wonderful moderation of today's session. This is this has turned out to be probably a bit too technical for the taste of most of the audience. But this is a very interesting discussion, and I think the discussion is important, not necessarily because we are talking about the predictive power of AI, but more so because we are actually discussing this under the overall premise of Private Emergency Operations Center. So this is a very new idea. Not too many, in fact, not just in Bangladesh, not too many countries actually have PEOCs. So normally, emergency operations centers are thought of as a public good. So, and public goods, we all know, usually falls within the confines of the government. So normally, private sectors would not invest time or money into developing emergency operations center. But the thinking has changed. Globally, the thinking has changed, and if you look at the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are supposed to be met by all countries, poor or rich, developed or developing, and they actually focus on not just the contribution of the governments, but also contributions from the private sector, contributions from the non-government organizations, and also contributions from the academia. So this is very, very interesting from that perspective, that we are discussing this at a time when people still have this mindset that, for example, nobody maintains fire trucks in our country other than the government, right? So we have the fire brigade, the fire department, they do that. But, there might be a time when we may have even private fire trucks. Probably, that is probably already happening in some of the larger industrial parks that we have, privately owned industrial parks. So what we see here, from this discussion, very interesting discussion, initiated by Associate Professor Khalilur Rahman of BRAC, based on his project that he has done in a slum area of Kollanpur for fire detection. So, of course, the first challenge in any country or any area is fire detection in itself. If a fire happens, we definitely want people to move out of the harm's way. We want to save lives, we want to save property. And then, why are we using technology to detect fires? The whole idea is to increase the time available to save yourself from that disaster. So the earlier you get the warning, the more time you have to get out of that disaster zone. So this idea of using sensors, IoT devices, traffic cams or any other webcams to detect any such disasters in the making. Let's say fire, you see a smoke, there's a lot of smoke, and then there might be an underlying fire, and then you want to set up an alarm system that goes off when such indications are there. But what happens is, people often discard this, indicators. You see some smoke, people might say, oh, I think somebody is just burning their extra garbage or something, so don't worry about that. Go back to sleep. But then, you die in your sleep because the whole slum catches fire and you don't have any time to get out of that. So it's very, very important, even if we can alert people even 5 minutes ahead of time, that 5 minutes could be very crucial, as I said, in saving lives and property. So this is where AI comes in. And I think the whole idea behind AI is that, without AI, even the sensor can work. You don't need AI for the sensors. You don't need AI for the cameras or, let's say, monitoring from a central location. That can work, all of that can function without AI. So why do we want to bring in AI? The whole idea behind bringing in AI is to actually remove as much as possible the false alarms. That is the whole idea. Otherwise, the IoT devices, sensor, everything can work as it is. So you want to remove false alarms because, as we have, in our children time, in our childhood, we have all read stories. যে কি ওই নেকড়ে আসছে আর বহুবার যখন রাখাল বলছে যখন আসলেই আসলো নেকড়ে তখন কিন্তু কেউ আসলো না তাকে বাঁচাতে. So this can happen in real life too. I mean, this is not just a story, this is a parable from Aesop's fables. So this can actually happen in real life. So we want to minimize false alarms. And that's where AI can come in very, very handy. So another angle of that presentation that really caught my eye is that Associate Professor Khalilur Rahman, he actually wanted to put together this whole project under a framework of collaboration between BRAC University, the faculty and the students, as well as NGOs and some of the industry partners. They're absolutely wonderful. We want to see more such collaboration happening. Because in today's world, nothing can happen in isolation. If academia does their research in isolation, it will not have any impact in the real world. So if industry tries to do something without the intellectual input from the academia, they will not be able to move ahead in a meaningful fashion. So the industry-academia collaboration is most crucial if we want to take our society forward. And then when it comes to, let's say, social business or social aspects of our work, then NGOs can play a very important role. And above all, the one piece that is missing from your collaboration model is the government. So you also need to bring the government in because they actually make the policy. And they can also facilitate a lot of this cooperation between different silos in our society. So this is very, very important. And traditionally, what we have seen is that industry remains confined to industry collaboration. Academia remains confined to academic collaboration. Government remains confined in government-to-government collaboration. Very little interaction happens across these silos. But things are changing. We see more such collaboration. We see more such, inter-sectoral panels where you have academicians, industry people. We should have had some government people in this panel. That would have made this more interesting. So from that point of view, I think this discussion has been really wonderful. But one thing in response to a question from one of the students from BRAC, that what is the cost of this project? I think I would have liked to hear a total number. What is the total figure what was the project cost? Because I need to know that figure, or people like, Barrister Sattar also needs to know a figure like that, or Shahrukh needs to know a figure like that. Because from industry, if we want to collaborate, we want to know what the ticket size is. It's very, very important. So you need to have a total project size. And The other thing that I want to leave the thought with you is the government actually has set up a fund. I think Barrister Samir Sattar mentioned that is this Startup Bangladesh Fund. I actually happen to chair the performance monitoring committee of that fund, and I also co-chaired the selection committee, where Dr. Rubana Haq, the former BGMEA president, she's the chair. And we actually have given 1 million taka each, 10 lakh taka each to nearly 300 startups in Bangladesh. And this is grant, by the way. This is not against equity. This is not a loan. So if you can put together a workable, feasible business model out of this, that could be replicated in thousands of slums around Bangladesh, you can definitely apply for that grant at Startup Bangladesh. IDEA project, actually, it's under a project called Innovation, Design, and Entrepreneurship Academy, IDEA project. So we would like to see that happen. And if you want to have a more or a firmer arrangement for your collaboration with some industry partners, some NGO partners, that can be, that would be welcome. So to end, I would just thank again Dhaka Chamber of Commerce and Industry for inviting me to chair this session. The relationship between Dhaka Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce and Industry goes back many, many decades, and we hope to engage in this kind of fruitful discussions and meaningful collaboration between the largest companies and the SME companies of Bangladesh, and together with the academia and the government. So thank you all for attending this session, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. That was very helpful. And I think the suggestion that is very clear to most of the students, I think there are a lot of students in this room, is that you need to put this knowledge that you have gained from being with such an able professor and see how you can turn it into a business model for the private sector. Like I said earlier, that you won't need any government funding, because if you have a viable project which makes business sense to most of the private investors, you'll have a line of private investors investing. I was speaking to recently just a young boy who received certain awards, and ওর কাজটাই হচ্ছিল যে ঢাকা ওয়াসারের যে পানি মধ্যে কতটুকু কোথায় পানি আটকায় যাচ্ছে, কোথায় পানি কন্টামিনেশন হচ্ছে, এইসব কাজ নিয়ে, this company called HydroQ. And similar AI use করে, artificial intelligence use করে আগে থেকে detect করা. And when I was speaking to that founder, the amount of knowledge that I gained from him, and I looked at it and said, wow, this is going to be the next company to go to for private investors. Because বাংলাদেশে পানির কন্টামিনেশনটা তো অনেক, আর কোন জায়গায় পানি মানে কোথায় কন্টামিনেশন হচ্ছে কোন পাইপে, সেগুলো যদি আর্টিফিশিয়াল ইন্টেলিজেন্স দিয়ে আগেই ডিটেক্ট করা যায়, imagine the amount of money that WASA and everyone else will save, right? So these are interesting concepts. Apne okhane you're at the right place. So hopefully we can collaborate, the private sector as well as the academia, to bring something productive for everyone. আপনি কিছু বলতে যাচ্ছিলেন, আমি এন্ড অফ করব এখন।
আমি হলো একটু ইন্ডাস্ট্রি এবং আপনাদেরকে জানাতে চাই, আমাদের ছেলেপেলে কিন্তু অসম্ভব মেধাবী। আমি অ্যাজ আই টোল্ড ইউ যে আমি কিন্তু ইন্টারন্যাশনাল কম্পিটিশনগুলো করে আমার ছেলেপেলেদেরকে করে আসছি। আই হ্যাভ সিন দ্য পিপল অফ আদার পার্ট, যাদেরকে আমি উন্নত দেশ বলি, এই ছেলেপেলেদেরকে মেধা আমি দেখেছি, ওদের সাথে আমার ছেলেপেলেদের মেধাকে আমি কম্পেয়ার করে এসেছি, এবং সেই জায়গা থেকে আমি কনফিডেন্টলি বলছি দে আর।
আপনার এটা বললেন, আমি নিজেই আই এম আ বিগ ফ্যান অফ ব্র্যাক ইউনিভার্সিটি, অলদো আমার লেখাপড়া বাইরে, বাট আমার ল ফার্মে 50% and above ব্র্যাক ইউনিভার্সিটির ছাত্ররা।
I'm not saying ব্র্যাক ইউনিভার্সিটি
না, বাট আমি বলছি মানে আই এম টকিং স্পেসিফিকলি অ্যাবাউট ব্র্যাক, বিকজ ব্র্যাকে আমি দেখেছি the quality is very, very high. And I would like to congratulate you again. Yes, of course, generally we are a sharp nation, but private university মধ্যে BRAC is way up there. Yeah. So congratulations.
আপনারা একটু ওই জায়গাগুলো খুঁজে দিবেন যে আমাদের এই প্রবলেমগুলো সলভ করে দাও, বা এইটা আমরা পারছি না। আমাদের একাডেমিকে বলেন যে ভাই তোমাদের এই 3টা প্রবলেমটা সলভ করতে পারেন কিনা দেখেন না। সারা ওয়ার্ল্ডে তো তাই হয়, তাই না? এমনকি তামাকের কোম্পানিও তো আপনার মানে কি করে হলো গিয়ে ক্যান্সার সারানো যায় সেই জায়গায় তারা ইনভেস্ট করতেছে, তাই না? তো আপনারা যদি আমাদেরকে প্রবলেমগুলো দেন, আমরা কিন্তু তাহলে এবার উই আর রেডি। আপনার রবিউল স্যারের আন্ডারে অন্ততপক্ষে 20টা থিসিসের গ্রুপ আছে, আমার আন্ডারে 20টা থিসিসের গ্রুপ আছে। আমরা এখন খুঁজছি যে প্রবলেম, ওকে, আমরা জানি হাউ টু সলভ দ্য এআই মডেল, এগুলো আমাদের কাছে রেডি আছে। আপনারা শুধু আমাদেরকে প্রবলেম দিবেন, আমরা সেগুলো আপনার জন্য রেডি করে দিব। ওকে, সো ইউ প্লিজ কাম টু আস।
We will do. We will do. I'm
আমরা
sure
আমাদের
the
এই
private
ছেলেপেলেগুলো
sector
দেখেন, ওরাও
is
উপকৃত
on
হবে,
stage.
ওরা টাকা চায় না কিন্তু। আপনারা এই যে আপনাদের এই কাজটা সলভটা করে, সলিউশনটা করে দিবে, একটা সার্টিফিকেট দিবেন, ওরা চাকরি ক্ষেত্রে ইউজ করবে যে আই ওয়ার্ক উইথ দিস প্রজেক্ট।
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's not necessary always you have to give the
No, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. That's a different model altogether.
তাই না? So we
Thank
can
you,
think about this
thank
kind
you
of
very
model.
much. Thank you to the honorable speakers, all of you panelists. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for the audience. This may be a dry subject for many because too technical, but it's an interesting subject nonetheless. So thank you for your patience for listening to us. With that note, thank you very much.
Thank you, our moderator, Mr. Sattar, for facilitating that interactive discussion. Before concluding our session, I would like to request our distinguished guest for stay with us for a formal photo session.